Hello and welcome back to the Commodities Institute podcast. I am Emily Costa and today is March 25th, 2026. It has been a tumultuous month for global markets, and as we navigate these unprecedented disruptions, it is more important than ever to look past the headlines and understand the structural shifts occurring in the world of raw materials. Today, we are diving deep into a world where geopolitical conflict is dictating the flow of everything from copper and coal to wheat and crude oil. We begin today with a look at the metals sector, specifically the long-term horizon for copper and the immediate appetite for iron ore. In the United States, Rio Tinto is looking toward the mid-2030s to open the Resolution copper mine in Arizona. This project is massive, slated to produce more than £40 billion of copper over its lifetime, which would supply more than a quarter of the total United States demand. However, there is a significant catch. Despite the high demand for copper to fuel the energy transition, the economics of smelting within the United States have become incredibly challenging. We are seeing a situation where treatment and refining charges have actually turned negative because there is such a shortage of copper concentrate. Essentially, smelters are paying to process the material rather than being paid. This is leading to a policy debate in Washington about whether to block exports of copper concentrate or set price floors to keep the domestic industry viable. Meanwhile, in India, iron ore imports are set to hit a 7-year high, potentially reaching 14 million metric tons this year. While India is a major producer, they are hungry for high-grade ore to feed their expanding steel mills, particularly those owned by JSW Steel. It is a fascinating study in contrast. A mining giant planning decades ahead in North America, while an industrial powerhouse in South Asia scrambles for immediate supply. Moving over to agriculture, the ripples of the conflict in the Middle East are being felt in the soil of farms across the globe. Russia, which controls roughly 40% of the global trade in ammonium nitrate, announced on Tuesday that it is halting exports of the fertilizer for 1 month. This suspension, lasting until April 21st, is designed to ensure that Russian farmers have enough supply for the spring planting season. This is a significant blow to the global supply chain, especially since 24% of the global trade in ammonia, a key ingredient for this fertilizer, normally passes through the now blocked Strait of Hormuz. We are seeing countries like Brazil, India, and Morocco, who rely on Russian shipments, having to look elsewhere in a very tight market. At the same time, Indian vegetable oil refineries are playing a high-stakes game of wait and see. India is the world's largest importer of vegetable oils, but they have recently slowed down their purchases of palm, soy, and sunflower oil. They are betting that the price spikes caused by the war are temporary and that they can rely on their comfortable domestic stocks and a record rapeseed crop until the market cools down. It is a risky move, but one that could prevent a total panic buy scenario in the edible oil sector. Speaking of the war, the conversation is already shifting toward what happens when the dust settles. In the realm of carbon and power, a new contest is brewing, the scramble for reconstruction contracts. The destruction to energy assets in the Middle East is staggering. The International Energy Agency has warned that at least 40 energy assets across 9 countries have been severely damaged. We are talking about refineries, pipelines, and liquefied natural gas facilities that will take tens of billions of dollars and years to repair. Major engineering conglomerates like SLB, Halliburton, and Baker Hughes from the United States are already being eyed as potential winners, alongside international firms like Italy's Saipem and France's Technip. In Iran, domestic giants like the Mapna Group will likely lead the way. This is not just about fixing pipes, it is about restoring the world's energy circulatory system. Even as we look toward reconstruction, existing power grids are struggling. In India, the government has been forced to delay a plan that would have allowed coal-fired power plants to lower their output when solar generation is high. The problem is that retrofitting these old coal plants to be more flexible is expensive and technically difficult. Without this flexibility, India is actually having to curb its solar power output to keep the coal plants stable, showing just how difficult the green energy transition remains during a period of intense economic stress. Of course, the most immediate and visceral impact of the current conflict is being felt in the oil markets. Asia is currently the front line of a massive fuel crisis. Because Asian nations buy more than 80% of the crude that normally flows through the Strait of Hormuz, the effective closure of that waterway has left them reeling. We are seeing countries reach for the playbook they used during the pandemic to manage this shock. In Pakistan, schools have been closed to save fuel and office workers are being sent home. Sri Lanka has gone as far as declaring every Wednesday a public holiday to make their supplies last longer. In the Philippines, a national energy emergency has been declared. It is a sobering reminder of how vulnerable our global energy infrastructure truly is. The International Energy Agency has authorized a record release of 400 million barrels of oil from strategic stockpiles, but industry executives at the recent conference in Houston are warning that these measures are not even a drop in the proverbial barrel. With the Strait of Hormuz handling 20% of global oil and gas supplies, a release of reserves cannot fill the void for long. Central banks are in a difficult position as well. Unlike the pandemic, when they cut rates to stimulate demand, they are now looking at hiking rates to fight the inflation caused by these high energy costs. Finally, we look at the dry freight and grain markets in Europe. Despite the chaos elsewhere, European soft wheat exports are actually up 6% year on year, reaching over 17 million metric tons. Romania has emerged as the largest exporter in the bloc, followed by France. However, diplomatic tensions are shifting trade routes. For instance, French wheat sales to Algeria have virtually halted, allowing Russia and other Black Sea exporters to move into that market. Algeria recently issued a new tender for 50,000 metric tons of wheat, and the origin of that grain will tell us a lot about the current state of agricultural diplomacy. Whether the wheat comes from Europe or further afield in South America or Australia, the logistical challenges of shipping in a world with blocked choke points remain a constant shadow over the market. It is a complex, interlocking puzzle of supply and demand that changes by the hour. That brings us to the end of our analysis for today. The themes of resilience, reconstruction, and the harsh realities of energy dependency are ones we will continue to monitor closely as the year progresses. If you found this episode valuable, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review.